left side of the key. Facing up, bulldozes his way into the lane, and puts them all on a poster! Slam! Dunk! Zion Williamson! Somebody call a real doctor!
From Game of Thrones.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Okay, well, I know that quote. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today at this amazing South by Southwest panel. I am joined by three amazing powerhouse marketing innovators, and we only have 25 minutes with you today, so I'm going to jump right in and let them introduce themselves. Alicia, you want to start?
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Mason, VP of Digital Customer Engagement and Media at McDonald's.
Katie, you want to go next?
Yes, Katie Sue, SVP. I head up growth marketing at HBO Max.
Cool. And Jill?
Hey guys, Jill Abbott. I lead consumer engagement for the Gatorade brand.
Okay, and I'm going to try my hardest to call Alicia today, not Alicia. It's like training. I have to get there. But Alicia, why don't you quickly tell us who's your favorite TikTok creator?
Oh, Devin Rodriguez art. My daughters and I love to see every day who he's drawn and then who he gives it to in their reaction. Love it. Little fun piece of our day.
I do love that. And Katie?
I'm super biased. I'm going to call out all of our HBO Max interns. I think they're amazing. I would list out all of their handles, but there are 5 of them. So I'm going to hold it. And I hope you guys all follow HBO Max, discover them, learn about them. They're incredible storytellers.
And Jill?
I have a few, but I'll hit them very quickly. Love Gab Union and Dwayne Wade on TikTok. I think they do great stuff and they're just adorable together. Huge fan of the Overtime platform in general, and Overtime Chloe is one of my faves. And then I recently got into the San Diego Zoo in a really big way. If you ever want some interesting animal content, they have a whole series on goat parkour, which is hysterical.
I love it. All right, well, listen, we're here because there are tons of marketers in the audience who are all asking themselves the same questions about, one, how, now that we're past this craziness of 2020, how do we evolve as leaders, as marketers, as innovators? And part of that evolution is having a presence on TikTok. And you three have clearly led the charge there. And so I think today I'd love to focus on a solution-oriented conversation on what can people do to be more innovative? What myths can you dispel for them? And let's jump right in. So let's start with you, Alicia. How have you embraced creativity for McDonald's on TikTok?
Yeah, it's a good question. We actually have only been on it for a little over 6 months. And if you think what a lot of marketers were going through this year is how do you communicate during a pandemic, and how do you really connect on social platforms with the murder of George Floyd and all the social unrest and the boycott of social. So to jump into a new social platform really takes a lot of bravery. And I have to say, it was really a combination, and we call it the circle of trust. It was our agency partners, which is White & Kennedy, New York. They really, they brought it, to us, and there were already 6 billion McDonald's views on the platform before we jumped in. So the creators were already there for us. It was how we wanted to, really step in. But then also from a platform, we feel that the platform really listened and is brand safe and is partnering with us as a brand on how best to kind of showcase our creators and our crew. And then lastly, just as a marketing team, we had to take a little bit of risk and realize we're not always going to get it right. And we have to be okay with that. And so we've dove in head first, and we have been so pleased with the results and the partnership and just all the creators out there on the brand. So really, really happy with it.
So walk me through that a little. You partner with Wyden, amazing agency. You know that on TikTok, McDonald's is already being talked about significantly. And you're at this place where Wyden's consulting you, you see what's happening in the platform. How do you take that leap? Like, what's going through your mind as a marketer? I know safety is one of the things you touched on, but help everyone that's watching this understand, like, how do you take that next step?
Yeah. So I think for us, it was a few different things. Number one, we really are focused on connecting with youth. And that's where we know there is, a high concentration of youth. So for us to be relevant as a brand, we have to go in the places that they're there. And then the second part is we have to make sure we show up in a really real way. And as a brand, the way that we think about our brand strategy and our brand voice is this notion of fan to fan. We want to talk to our fans in the way that they talk about McDonald's to others. And we really felt like the TikTok had the right environment. It was already our fans talking about us and our crew. And we really focus on wanting to elevate and inspire that. And it was one of those of, it made a lot of sense. Our audience was there and we knew we could do it in a really rich and right way.
Yep, I love that. That kind of brings me to a conversation I had with Katie earlier. Katie, you really talked about listening to your audience. And as a marketer, really marrying the art and the science, right, of marketing. So I would love for you to kind of elaborate there.
Yeah. I think marketing is the perfect blend of art and science. And we saw a lot of fans and audiences on TikTok that were already talking about stories and characters that they love that we already had on our platform. And it was very easy for us to go in there and say, well, what can we do? What can we give them that will allow them to continue telling these great stories? Because, sometimes you don't want to be a brand that tries to tell the story for the audiences. You want the audiences to authentically share what matters to them. And so, after going through looking at the community, it wasn't hard for us to enter the community and build a brand presence. The question was how and who. And I think we got really lucky because, the company really empowers us to make these decisions as leaders and marketers. And so we actually recruited 5 incredible interns, and even the JD we wrote was sort of pithy and, different. We had a lot of fun writing the JD itself, and we posted it. It was tweeted from our leadership. And so that's allowed us to get the message out. And then we got hundreds and hundreds of applicants and people, submitting their entries on TikTok itself. And then we selected 5 incredible, talented individuals that we then just turned over our brand handles to. And I know that sounds crazy a lot of times to marketers, right? Like there's always brand safety. There's always, a lot of guidelines and parameters, but I don't know. I believe that the most authentic storytelling is when you tell it from a place of realness, and that realness becomes relevance. And so if you do it in that way and you allow the creators to tell the story from their perspective to an audience that they belong to, I think that it is the most authentic way to get people excited about shows, stories, characters, and content.
So you're putting your brand in the hands not only of interns, young folks at the company, but also creators. That's really scary for a lot of brands. So where do you find the courage to do that? Do you have some best practices? Do you have strong support from leadership? Or are you kind of leading the charge? Tell us how you do that.
I think it starts with having a hypothesis, an idea. Like, could this work? Does this make sense for the fans? And I think that was one of the easiest questions for us to answer. It totally did. The platform was deeply seeped already in moving culture. And so for us, it was just a matter of tapping into that. I am very fortunate. The leadership was really supportive of it. And certainly when you come to the table with things like this, it is a bit wild and you never know if it's going to hit. But I think this is the whole thing about, modern marketing. And as you think about how marketing has evolved, if you find ways to speak authentically to our customer, who are audiences and fans of the same thing you're trying to sell, what better way to do it than to empower a younger generation to do it in the way that makes the most sense to them? And so I don't think it was as challenging as one may think. And once you do it, you just set parameters and guidelines. I mean, even now, when there are shows and content that we think are super important or things that we have as company priorities, we still empower our creative team and the interns to decide, do you want to market this title? Does it make sense? Is it relevant? Like, do you think it's cool? And if it's not cool, don't market it. Like, market the things that you think the community is going to respond to. And so even with Wonder Woman, when we released it last year, you can see this amazing video that they made. And so, I cannot speak to their talent enough. And I think that that's probably the first thing, is find a group of creators and creatives that authentically speak to the talent, the aesthetic, and the way in which you want the storytelling to be told. I won't, again, I'm not doing them justice because I don't want to list off all of their handles, but I would love for everyone listening to this to go follow them as individuals, as artists, as creators, because the way they told the story is what drew us to them. And that is the easiest way to know that they will be the best way to share your story because of who they are as creators.
I love that. And Jill, I'm going to hand it over to you. So working with partners, putting your brand in the hands of the community, how does that all kind of bubble up to where you put your money as a brand?
There's a few things there. So one thing, Katie, I love what you were talking about in terms of handing the brand over, in a sense, to people who think more endemically to the platform. Sophia, we've partnered with the TikTok team, and we're doing that. We're launching today, actually, creating our first social squad, doing a TikTok challenge to see who wants to rep Gatorade, what athletes want to rep Gatorade. And Sophia, as we were talking last week about, well, we all have a million priorities as brands, as marketing leaders. Where do you put the funds and how do you think about that? For Gatorade, at least, we all went through the same kind of epic shift last year, roughly around this time. The world stopped and started and stopped and started. And for our brand, at least, one of the things that we started to really embrace is the fact that we shouldn't have overly baked plans. We have to be more fluid. We have to be able to react to things like shifts in consumer behavior. So, March, April of last year, we were replanning almost every other day, maybe every third day, what our media mix looked like. And one of the things that we started to pay a lot more attention to is where our athletes were shifting their time to. A lot of sports had shut down. People were really trying to find a sense of community. They were trying to find a sense of engagement. And a lot of things that we saw is that adaptation of TikTok, but even just the time on the platform started to skyrocket. So we started to shift where our dollar sat, and we started to put all of our money in places where we knew our athletes were spending their time and trying to find messages and ways of creating with them that were pandemic friendly. And a lot of that was handing it over to athletes. We weren't going to be creating these huge, massive shoots anymore, or at least for the time being. So we worked with our partners, both Swift out of Portland and TBWA Shy at Day out of Los Angeles. And last summer, we just kept trying stuff. And what we learned was our engagement rates kept growing. And then as we got our media mix model back at the end of the year, we learned that it actually delivered a pretty strong ROI, much stronger than I would have anticipated. So we went in thinking about, let's be where the people are. Let's solve for what our athletes need, which is community and entertainment and a feeling of belonging. And come to find out, it was returning for the brand as well. So now as we look at 2021, we want to keep that just fluidity and be nimble, and to be thinking about how do we further adapt where we put our money based on what we're seeing happening. Hence the birth of the TikTok challenge that we're doing starting again this week. And then we'll just iterate and flow from there and see where the next generation of creators takes us in terms of having a footprint in the platform.
So this media perspective versus like a solid, non-budging media plan blows my mind, because I think it's very hard for most large companies to be that nimble. I do think that if 2020 taught us anything, it is that we have to be nimble and we have to adapt. So can you help people, or even your colleagues on this Zoom, help us understand how you get there? How do you get to kind of change plans that traditionally are seeded, a year in advance?
Yeah. And we do, we have an annual media approach, I would say. And Sophia, we talked about that idea of a plan feels so binding, and it feels so like you can't adjust from it, versus having a perspective that's based in understanding your consumer. So for us, Gatorade's mission is to fuel athletic performance. So it always goes back to what's going to fuel our athletes forward. We spend a lot of time really understanding where our athletes are and how they're engaging. And we spend a lot of time, obviously, knowing our business and what the needs are. So the way that we've thought about it is we want to have an annual approach. We want to know what the shifts in behavior look like. We want to know what platforms athletes are spending time on, but we don't want to have every dollar planned to the T. And we don't want it planned to the T by our campaigns, let alone by the platforms. And we just have a forum where every week we talk about what's happening in the business within my CE leadership team. And we think about what do we need to go do next. And we'll adjust, we make adjustments. I would say certainly not weekly, but we talk about it every week, and we think about what the differences are and how that dollar might be best spent and what we get out of it if we put it in this platform or that platform. And as trends continue to pop up and as behaviors continue to shift and as our athletes spend time in different platforms, we want to make sure that we are in the places that they're at, but we're also showing up in the ways that they find to be relevant and resonant and inspiring.
I love that. If we were at South by Live, I would take a bite of my taco and toast my tequila shot to you right now for being nimble. So what about Katie and Alicia? How have your media plans, or the way that you traditionally think about media, shifted since you've been present on TikTok?
I can take this because it's just piggybacking off of Jill's conversation. We're very similar. We practice agile methodology against what we do. I think, when you think about entertainment brands in general, sometimes you plan against like a single title, or you plan against single moments and events. But the reality is consumers aren't actually consuming content and experiencing life in that way. And so our media allocations and channels we buy on platforms we partner with can't be done in the same way either. And so we're also very similar in the sense that we actually meet, every single day. We look at our test and learn strategy. We look at our audiences. We try to understand our data and, through that mix, better service our customer, because they are at the center of everything we do and they are the fan, right? So if they want to see a piece of content and they want to experience a piece of content on a piece like another platform or a channel, I think we have a responsibility as marketers to make that accessible to them. That's actually why TikTok was such an easy partnership for us to do, just because you had so many people responding to Euphoria and Wonder Woman and all these great titles that you just want to be a part of that conversation. You want to help aid in it. You don't have to take over it. It's really just about creating a community and a space and allowing that to just foster into deeper conversations. And then you layer in your media into it so that you're aiding in discovery and giving people a channel to subscribe if they want to learn more, they want to watch more, they want to see more. And I think that way the experience is just more cohesive across the board.
Yeah, I love that point. Alicia had mentioned earlier that your brand's already being talked about on this platform, whether you're starting the conversation or not. And I think one of the biggest questions to us is from brands, do we have to kick off, the conversation? We're so ingrained to think about things going viral from how we've been taught about social, that's actually not the case. On TikTok, if your brand's being talked about, join the conversation. If there's a trend, join the trend. You don't always have to create them. Does anyone else want to say anything about creativity on the platform and any kind of best practices or things you learned that you want to share with the audience?
I think one of the things, maybe not a best practice, but just in this spirit of testing and learning and figuring out a new platform, we're still really kind of working through what is the right person of content to have, from creators themselves versus, from us as a brand. What is the right mix of paid media versus just, organic and amplifying. And so it's one of those we are looking at, similar to Jill, on a weekly basis. What are we seeing? What are the engagement rates? And then measuring it a little bit longer term with ROI. But I would just encourage everyone, it's still so new. As a platform to the audience and community, as well as brands, that there's just a lot of testing and learning, to dig in and to try, and don't be afraid. But it's actually quite invigorating to be able to really dig into a new platform this way.
I love it. Okay. We actually only have a few minutes left. I can't believe it. It's gone by so quickly. Last words that you want to leave the marketers in that have their toe about to be dipped into TikTok as a platform, or anything else that you've learned as amazing leaders. Do you want to start first, Jill?
Sure. Just give it a try and don't overthink it. I think if you just give it a shot, you put it out there in a place that's, and to a degree that's safe, that's not going to, whatever your restrictions aren't going to, maybe cause too much angst. Just give it a shot. For us, we saw our GX bottles, which is our reusable pods and bottles, pop on TikTok on their own. And that was enough to say, maybe we have something here, safe to try. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, learn and move on. And it worked. So give it a shot.
Katie?
I think everything is about culture and community. I think the best marketers are the ones who can market at the speed of culture. And I think I would encourage everyone to think about that in what they do creatively. Have no fear, plunge in. What's the worst that can happen? You get a data point and you learn something about your audiences and fans. That's incredible. That's still a win. So yeah, don't hesitate. Just do it.
I love that. Alicia?
Similar what these ladies said, I would say lean in, really focus on what's that intersection of cultural relevance and engagement, and you will find inspiration on the platform of creators already talking about your brand. So take it from there, but lean in.
Yes, I agree. And I'll just leave with get on the platform. If you're not in the platform experiencing it, and you're only getting the experience through what you're reading in Digiday and what you're seeing with your 13-year-old kid, that is not what TikTok's about. You have to actually get in it and be a part of culture. So thank you so much, all of you. I look forward to doing this again. We'll talk soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.